Hello guys, I'm going to be looking at a video by a nutritionist from My Protein. He's trying to explain why carbohydrates are good. I've already watched this once or twice already now. So we'll see what he's got to say again. Hopefully I can elaborate some more on my criticisms.
Why carbohydrates are good for you. I'm starting to feel like I get all the controversial topics here. In saying that, I can't believe that this is a controversial topic to begin with.
Of course it's a controversial topic. You've got millions of people around the world following a diet in the absence of carbohydrates that are getting tremendous health results. It is not a controversial topic at all.
Carbs are great, and I'm going to
Prove your point.
tell you exactly why that is and just how you can incorporate carbs into your daily life for better health, performance, and recovery.
Cliff notes, guys, he doesn't do any of those things. He doesn't do a damn thing. He does nothing to better people's health or performance in this whole video. Not one drop of evidence is in anything he's got to say.
Hi, I'm Jamie Wright, an accredited nutritionist, and I specialize in helping people all across the world achieve.
Right, so he's got a master's degree in nutrition, I believe, and a bachelor's degree. So he's one step ahead in terms of the academic knowledge that I have. I have simply a bachelor's degree in human nutrition. So we're quite well pitted here. I'm not being a bully. You know, we're both in the fitness space. So this is a fair analysis of what he's got to say. And many of those things are wrong. We'll see how well his academia holds up to practice.
Achieve their goals without silly fad diets. First things first, let's talk about exactly what carbs are and then chat a bit about where this anti-carb messaging comes from, what carbs are and how they actually work. Carbohydrates are one of the 3 macronutrients along with fat.
There's 4 macronutrients. One of them is also water. Don't forget the 4th. You need water, a nutrient, in a large amount, in a macro amount. That's 4.
Fat and protein and are an important part of a healthy, balanced diet. There are
What is a balanced diet and what is a healthy diet? Define what that is, please.
2 types of carb, simple and complex. Simple carbs are made up of 1 or 2 sugar molecules. Just imagine these as happy little individual mini carbs. These are the ones that people kick up the most fuss about, and that's partly because of their influence on our insulin levels, which we'll discuss later, but also this notion that these are addictive. I'm not a fan.
Carbohydrates are one of the most addictive substances to man, especially in their more simple form, as you put it. Have you seen the research on how it compares to cocaine? Come on. Get with the times.
Fan of calling these kinds of carbs addictive, as there isn't really any clear evidence for that. It's most likely the totality of the food itself as a
There is. Look at how many people can just munch down packets and packets of carb-rich food versus people that can eat bricks of butter per day. Come on. It's obvious. You don't even need a cause and effect study for that. Look around you.
opposed to the sugar content which people find so hard to pass up. It's likely down to the palatability of the food or meal rather than the influence of any one nutrient. Studies have shown that addictive behaviours are noted towards foods which are more energy dense, more processed, higher in fat, as well as those in added sugars.
And what do nearly all plant foods that contain carbohydrates have in common? They're nearly all processed. You can't eat a raw potato without health consequences. Definitely can't eat red kidney beans without health consequences that are raw. You know, all these things are processed to some degree. They're all addictive when you start mixing them and putting together in little snack bars and all sort of crap. They're all addictive. They're all processed. They're modern foods.
If sugar was a singular addictive component within a food, then people would be raiding the fruit section of your local supermarket.
No, instead of the fruit section, they're raiding everything else, which does have carbohydrates, which is the whole supermarket itself. With the exception of maybe 2 to 3 aisles down a supermarket that I go down to, say it has 10 aisles, 70% of the food itself is carbohydrate laden. It is a processed carb food. So yes, you can say it's addictive. How much time do people spend nowadays looking at packets of cereal bars versus looking at boxes of meat? You spend all day, the advertisements everywhere. Like, I can't walk past a bus stop sometimes without seeing like some processed food on the side of it. You're telling me it's nothing to do with carbohydrates? No. Okay.
The other form of carbohydrate is the complex carbohydrate. Complex carbs are made up of 3 or more sugar molecules and are found in foods like brown rice, oats, oatmeal, and beans. The easiest way to picture complex carbs is like a daisy chain with all these smaller individual carbs, the sugars, being linked together. Not all carbs are like this. Some appear in different forms and have different functions, like structural carbs that we find in plants. For the sake of making life easy, it may be easiest to picture the carbs that we eat as either individuals or like these daisy chain structures.
So he's managed to successfully outline one point here, which is basic nutrition physiology. We're talking about something we learned maybe year 5, year 6 in school. So he's 2 minutes in now and he's made one point that I learnt when I was about, 10 years old. Right, let's see how this goes on.
Structures that I mentioned. The carbs that we eat are broken down into their individual sugars, if not already appearing in that form, which are then used for energy by the body or transported around the body to be stored. The body breaks down almost all of the carbs we eat into glucose, with complex carbs taking longer to digest, providing a slower and more steady release of energy.
Not strictly speaking true. We have glycogen, which we can dip into at any point. It's very hard to become glycogen depleted, guys. People think it's, oh, I've depleted my glycogen because I've done a 2-hour leg workout. No, you haven't. Come on. Work out how much glycogen you have in your body. You know, for myself, maybe a 110 kilo man, relatively lean. Maybe 800 grams of glycogen, maybe a bit more. I'm not burning through that in a leg workout. You don't need to top up your glycogen all the time. You know, rest and digest. These things happen overnight. You know, you can top up through gluconeogenesis. If you're giving your body enough fat, it will top itself up. You know, people look at this as like a carbs provide energy. Just mimicking the same thing over and over again. Per gram of fat, you gain more energy than per gram of carbohydrate. You can tell me that's not a beneficial energy source.
This is why complex carbs are often recommended for people who are trying to lose weight or manage their diabetes. The slow digestion.
Or just don't eat them. Diabetes, it's effectively a carbohydrate intolerance. You're telling people just don't eat the Skittles, eat the baked potato. That's a better idea. No, just don't eat it at all. Pack it in. Your body's saying, I've had enough now. My pancreas has had enough. I don't want any more.
Absorption of the carbs into our bloodstream better helps regulate blood sugar levels, as well as hunger and satiety. It also helps.
It's funny you mention satiety, because satiety is best reached in a carnivore or a ketogenic diet. I very seldom see people on those sort of diets, or even a low carb diet, actually binge eating. You know, eat a steak, some eggs, cook them in butter, and tell me that is not a satiating meal. Then, I don't know, put a bag of Doritos next to you, or if you want something unprocessed, get some French fries, you know, that aren't cooked in oil. You can eat heaps more of those. They're like mush. There's also not much nutrition in them anyway, so you're going to get less of a satiety signaling. Stop eating sugar.
Helps better regulate the release of insulin, a hormone responsible for shuttling carbohydrates into the cells and proclaimed to be the co-conspirator alongside carbs, causing the rise in obesity. Dispelling the myth that carbs cause obesity. Many people have been made to believe that carbs cause weight gain, but they've been fed a lie.
It's the combination of lots of foods being taken in that cause obesity. Carbohydrates is the most problematic of the 3 food-based macronutrients that we take in. How do we know this? If we eat too much protein in the absence of fat and carbohydrates, we get rabbit starvation. If we don't eat any fat, that's even worse. You'll get emaciated. You know, something really bad will happen. You'll lose too much fat. Other than that, you don't have enough energy as it is. You'll lose all your body fat. Then you'll have no hormonal function because you won't have any cholesterol. You won't have any fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. It's the high amounts of glucose in the bloodstream coupled with also high amounts of fat, or perhaps protein if it's converted down the line to sugar, that causes obesity.
Well, maybe not a lie, but at least a half-truth. The reason why carbs have been vilified is mainly down to sugar. As I mentioned, when we eat and digest carbs, our blood sugar rises and in turn insulin spikes. The more simple the carb source and or the greater the serving that we consume, the more our blood sugar spikes and in turn insulin. When insulin spikes, the breakdown of fat is temporarily blunted. This has created a mindset that carbs must be bad because they stop fat loss and that they therefore cause weight gain. However, recent trends...
Okay, so you've got the mechanisms at play there. You've perfectly outlined insulin is a fat storage hormone. It helps prevent fat utilization from the body. Okay. So provide some evidence to say why it's good to eat carbohydrates.
show that the prevalence of obesity continues to steadily climb, even when carbohydrate intake has steadily decreased.
How did you measure that carbohydrate intake has steadily decreased? What studies have you performed, or your colleagues, or anyone for that fact, that has shown cause and effect carbohydrate intake has decreased?
When we look historically, there are many cultures who have a relatively high carbohydrate intake but low rates of obesity. One really interesting comparison is to look at the change in obesity in Japanese people who migrated to the US. Traditionally, the Japanese diet is one rich in carbohydrates. In fact, carbohydrates contribute north of 60% of their total.
Yeah, that's in recent years, mate. Recent years. But look, historically, history, if you're talking about history, like maybe 100 years back, it's quite a different case, actually. If you haven't done your research there. Also, if you look at their diet, it is high in animal protein and also animal fat. They don't cook with loads of, margarine and fake butter. Seed oils, basically. They use real food. They walk everywhere. There's so many confounding variables here, so you could not say that this shows this. It doesn't show anything. It really doesn't.
Total energy intake, and the observed rate of obesity is relatively low compared to other developed countries. That all changes when you look at groups of people whose family have come from Japan or moved to the US from Japan themselves. In these families, the prevalence of obesity skyrockets, yet the total contribution of carbohydrate to their daily energy intake decreases, which suggests that carbs may not be the problem. Finally, when you actually...
Use the word suggest this time. Interesting. So you just said something, but it might not be true. It's just a guess, basically. That's what he's saying.
look at direct comparisons of different diets, it basically doesn't matter what the nutrient makeup of the diet is itself. If the person is in a calorie deficit, they will lose weight. Now,
not always, no. Actually, I've experienced the opposite of that in quite a lot of cases myself. I ate 1,000 calories at one point. I think I was about 15 years old. I did that for a week and I didn't lose any weight. Before that, an even more extreme example, I didn't eat for between 10 and 14 days. I was drinking water alone, nothing else. I didn't lose any weight. There's obviously a hormonal factor in play here. Ignoring that is daft. A calorie deficit. What? The best predictor of your body weight, your body composition, is going to be a mass gain or mass deficit. It's not exactly perfect, of course not, no. But a calorie deficit is daft, We don't use calories.
there might be some advantage to higher protein diets, but there isn't anything concrete to suggest that a higher fat or higher carb intake is somehow superior to the alternative. If you'd like a bit...
Yes, there is evidence, actually. The satiety factor from a high fat diet is much higher. What else do we know? Blood sugar spikes and valleys as a result of a lower carb diet, or even a medium carb, or even a high carb diet. The best case scenario is to get down to 0 carbs. That helps maximally reduce the possibility of blood glucose drops, which cause oftentimes overeating. When I'm talking about drops, I mean insulin's really spiking here and you just feel crap afterwards. Then you'll be having to eat more food just to get some energy back and feel better. Then it just perpetuates a continuous carbohydrate cycle of I'm addicted to carbs, I'm addicted to carbs, I'm addicted to carbs. But no one will admit it. Most people are addicted to carbs.
More on the low fat versus low carb debate, be sure to check out Uncle Richie's video on the subject here. Okay? So you
don't watch that video, it's horrendous. Every time I argue with this guy, I debate him very respectfully. Honestly, guys, I really do. I lose patience sometimes, and he's from the church of the organization, let's put it that way. And he believes that all that they have to say is good. He's not on our side, guys. He's not on our side. He doesn't care about your health. He hasn't done his research. He isn't an expert. He just got qualifications, but he is not an expert.
You know what carbs are. You hopefully trust that they're not bad for you. I mean, you can trust me. I'm a reliable looking guy. But just on the very slim
I would not rely on you based on the information you told me for the last 4 minutes and 40 odd seconds.
chance that you aren't willing to just take my word, then here's some really important reasons to include them, and maybe, just maybe, you're willing to buy into the concepts of carbs actually being good for you.
Right, I'll readjust my seat now and listen to this. You might have something interesting to say. All right, ready. I'm ready. I'm ready for you, whatever his name is.
Carbs are great, and here's why.
You just said the same thing basically about 3 times in this video already, and you haven't explained why.
There are many reasons to champion carbs. They're the primary source of fuel for our body and our brain, basically.
False. False. The first thing we use, because we want them out of our body. Evidence. In our mouth. The first part of our digestive system. We produce the largest amount of amylase. A small part of our digestive system, nonetheless. The rest of it is comprised mostly of protease and lipase, which digest protein and fat. Carbohydrate being digested is integral because we've adapted to get rid of it out from our body as quickly as possible. We don't want glycation in the blood. We want to get rid of it as quickly as possible, so we want to assimilate it as fast as we can. That is why when we're taking food through glucose, it has to, turn into blood glucose that fast. We want it out of our body quickly. If we're using your measurements of calories, whatever that is, what the average man stores 100,000 calories worth of fat on their body. You're going to tell me that's not a main energy substrate? Come on. Think. Your brain right here on your left is not one in your head, obviously.
Basically runs on carbs. Carbs can also have a really positive effect on our mood and are linked to the production of serotonin.
And also other things which really, really stimulate hormones that fuel addictive behaviors.
They've also been shown to help reduce levels of stress as well. Where carbs really excel is the fueling of exercise and optimizing recovery. When we
Prove it. Explanation. Come
exercise, our body will burn through carbs for fuel at a much higher rate. The more prolonged the exercise, the more the carbs will be used.
True if you're using carbohydrates as an energy source, unless you're like myself, which is someone a bit more health conscious than you, obviously, and someone perhaps even fitter, which is quite bizarre because I just had spinal fusion. Yeah. It depends what you feed it. One will kill you, one won't.
Stop eventually depleting our glycogen stores, ultimately leading to a decline in performance, muscle fatigue, and even hitting the wall.
He's never heard of gluconeogenesis, has he? His only energy substrate is glucose. He's relying on one thing. Hasn't looked at the evolution of human beings, obviously.
Having an easily digestible source of carbohydrate leading into exercise or even during provides an alternative fuel source and can better preserve our glycogen. Preserving our glycogen can lead to better performance and enhanced recovery. Foods like fruits
Can. Well, yeah, in the absence of proper food, animal protein, animal fat. Yeah, it's not a default mechanism of energy substrate, but it works. Let's put it that way. There's always a good, better, and best case scenario, I always say. I doubt that this is even a good scenario. It's just, we have so much accessibility to foods now, guys. Like animal foods, real food. And we're going to ignore all of it. And chase the rainbow. Chase balance. Chase colours. All to fuel our carb addiction. Then justify it with better performance, enhanced recovery, which we can't actually prove.
Sweets, cereals, and most starchy, white, tasty baked goods are all great options in the hour leading up into exercise. During exercise,
It's even better, right? Just to not even eat and not need to eat because you're fat adapted, because you have so much energy substrate on your body ready to go. Ready to turn to glycogen. Come on.
you'll probably want to go for an energy gel or drink, as I don't know how practical it would be to start chomping down on a chocolate eclair in the middle of.
No, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't eat chocolate eclair. Come on. You're a nutritionist with a master's degree in nutrition, apparently. Tell me about eclairs. And you're going to probably listen back to this and think, you misrepresented what I say, or you weren't telling the truth, or you didn't listen properly, or you didn't say any points, or whatever it happens to be. You're the guy telling people to eat non-essential nutrients that can kill them. I'm not.
of the gym or during a match. The last really important point to touch on when it comes to carbs is that you rarely, if ever, find carbs on their own. We don't eat nutrients, we eat food. What's great about that is that the foods that we find plenty of carbs in are also jam-packed full of other really important nutrients.
It's getting daft now. What is there in animal foods and, you know, the protein and fat that we can get, especially in nutritious carb-rich foods? What is there? You know, what essential nutrients am I lacking on a diet in the absence of nutritious carb foods? Tell me. Label them. Tell me. Don't just say nutrients, vitamins, minerals. Tell me, you know, what am I doing wrong?
Vitamins and minerals. Of course, there are less nutritious carb-rich foods, but fruits, veggies, grains, beans, and other legumes are all considered carbs, and there's some.
All cultivated foods we're not adapted to eat and should not eat that are laden in anti-nutrients which can kill people. If you guys wonder why I'm saying, oh, it can kill people. Yes, these things can kill people. They can give people kidney disease. They can give people diabetes. Yes, they can. It is a fact. I don't see many people around in the ketogenic or carnivore space online saying, my family member died of this diet because too much fat, too much protein. I don't see that.
Some of the most nutritious foods that we know of. Can't forget about fiber as well. Technically, it's a carb and you'll find it in carbs, so carbception, I guess. Anyway, aside from keeping you regular,
Keeping you regular is a common fallacy. Regular, what does regular mean? You know? Do I not poop regularly? One pretty firm, appropriately sized, normal poop per day is good for me. How regular are we talking about here? You know, the average person, I think, poops 1.6 times per day. I go once. I'm more efficient than you are. I'm smarter than you are.
Getting enough fiber, which is around that 25 to 30 gram mark per day, may also help reduce your...
May also. It's like a mimicking guidelines from certain online spaces. You know, it doesn't tell me much. It tells me a lot about this guy's information. I really hope he changed his tune because he's completely wrong. He's misguided.
Your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and even certain cancers. I hope by now you trust me when I say carbs are well worth including in your diet.
No facts. No substantiated claims. Nothing.
All foods and nutrients are welcome in a healthy, balanced approach to...
What is a balanced approach to a diet? You have to outline these things if you're going to say them. You know? You have to outline these things. You can't talk nonsense on the internet and expect no one to criticize you. This can harm people.
To nutrition. As always, if you have any more questions or even advice for other viewers just like you,
my advice is to follow a species-specific, species-appropriate diet. Definitely not a balanced diet this guy's mentioning. You know, eat meat and fat, satiety from animal foods. Can't go too wrong. You can, but, you know, in that case you need to address your binge eating disorder or your orthorexia or your anorexia perhaps. But, yeah. That's a consultation question.
Let me know in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe to the MyProtein YouTube channel for more great evidence-based nutrition information.
Right, so no information. Nothing was great about the video. There's no evidence either. So ding, ding, ding. Excellent. All right, I'll leave it there. If you guys do want to know about building your body, staying fit, building muscle, losing fat, maintaining good health status, I can guide you along the way. I do offer affordable consultations and coaching plans, diet and training plans as well. I don't mess around, guys. Honestly, I don't. I take this very seriously. I take the client's health very seriously. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe. And never watch these guys' videos again. Thank you.